We're about to start, everybody. We are about to start. I'm just double checking if we have the proper audio set up. And we're about to start in a couple of seconds. So here we are. Dun-dun-dun-dun. Can you guys hear me? 1, 2, 3, testing. Start in a couple of seconds. Alrighty, so we are going to start. Hello, everybody. Hello. It's my pleasure having you today in today's lesson. We are going to be talking about the strategy on how to become better English speaker, right? So previously in lesson number 1, we were talking about how to record proper vocabulary in order for you to improve this part, which is the vocabulary, pronunciation, meaning, trying to look for some synonyms and antonyms and make your own sentence, right? That's the main idea. That was lesson number 1. Lesson number 2, guys, we're gonna be doing a review of a tense that most intermediate to advanced students are dealing with or they are struggling with, and that's gonna be the second conditional, right? That's what we're gonna be covering. And besides, I'm gonna give you a strategy on how to improve your fluency, right? So I think that you can guys hear me well. If you cannot hear me, you can let me know in the comments below. You can remember that we have open chat right over here. I can read your chat. If you have questions, let me know. And obviously I will be answering all those questions you have in mind, on all those questions that came across and you just want to know more about it. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me see, where is my remote? Yes, here it is. In previous lesson, in lesson number 1, there was an assignment, right? Some of you did the assignment, some others didn't do any assignment. But the good thing is that we still have time, right? If you haven't done your assignment from lesson number 1, you can go ahead and do it. The only thing you need to do is to go to lesson number 2 of the improving and developing and speaking marathon. And I am basically giving you all the instructions there where what you need to do in order for you to continue with this series, right, of this event, the marathon. Remember that day number 3, we are going to be conducting private speaking sections where you will have feedback from our tutors, and your feedback has to do with vocabulary, fluency, grammar range, pronunciation, right? It's everything related to speaking, right? Speaking ability. Alrighty, so let me start sharing my screen so we can go ahead and get started. Hold on 1 second, guys. We're about to start. Alright, that's my screen, everybody. And that's me over there, right? Okay, cool. So we're gonna be starting with the improving and developing and speaking skill marathon lesson 2, the strategy. This is the strategy that will make you speak longer, will make you speak fluent, will make you organize your ideas, and then you will have the opportunity to improve, right, your speaking section or your speaking skill part. All right, but before we go any further, we need to do a recap of what we covered in lesson number 1. In lesson number 1, for those people who haven't watched just yet, the lesson number 1, we just talked about how or what are the main ideas of the marathon, all right? What's the objective of the marathon? Marathon, it's for you to identify your weaknesses. The marathon is for you to work and improve those weaknesses that we might find in the assessment that we're going to be evaluating, right? The idea also is that you can have an environment where you can practice all what you have learned from step number 2 or point number 2. And also we have the fourth part, which is the feedback, right? The feedback part where you have a tutor, and the tutor is basically guiding you on how to finding those mistakes that you have whenever you speak, right? And last but not least is the role practice, right? This is actually what we have been covering previously in lesson number 1. Now, in lesson number 1, we also talked about how to improve vocabulary. And remember that there are different kind of input that you can get from vocabulary. The input, it could be about the resources that you can get are from books, for example, or podcasts, or series, or watching the news. So these are the inputs, and whenever you hear a new word, this is where you're gonna be recording the word. And how you're gonna be recording the word? Through the 4-step process to improve vocabulary. Number 1, it's word and pronunciation, right? I know already that we covered this in lesson 1, but I'm just doing a quick recap. So everybody is on the same page. Number 2, meaning and example, right? Try to look for the meaning and the example of the word that you listen. 3, synonyms and antonym, and last but not least, make your own sentence. Why is that important? That is important because the more you do it, the better your process of learning new vocabulary will be. Okay, now, so let's go ahead and start with the lesson number 2, the strategy. But first, as I mentioned before, we're going to be talking about the objective. What is going to be today's lesson objective? We need to talk about the grammar range, right? And we're going to be reviewing second conditionals. Then we're going to be talking about the speaking strategy, which has to do with organizing ideas. And last but not least, we need to practice. We have an practice environment session where I'm gonna be assigning you another activity, and obviously activity number 1 or offline activity assignment from lesson number 1 plus assignment number 2, which is this activity, will give you access to the last part of the marathon, which is the private practice sessions, right? Okay. So when do we use second conditional? There are 2 ways of using second conditional. One of them is when we can use it to talk about things in the future that are probably not going to be true. All right? So one more time, we use it to talk about things in the future that are not going to be true. In other words, maybe I am imagining, right, some dream, or I'm just thinking about something that is not going to happen. For example, another use, right, of the second conditional we can use it to talk about something in the present. To talk about something in the present, just make myself a little bit smaller so you can actually see. Yeah, there you go. So we can use this to talk about something in the present, which is impossible because it's not true. One more time, you are imagining a situation, right? Then we got a couple of examples. Example number 1. If I met the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, I would say, "Hello, Mr. President." All right, so that is a good example. Number 1 thing, right now in Nicaragua, obviously, there are not international flights, meaning that I cannot fly to El Salvador. That's one of the likelihood. The second likelihood is that I can meet the president if I visit El Salvador. I don't think so. So this is just in my imagination, meaning that this is not gonna happen. Right? Not right now, not tomorrow, not in a year. It's not going to happen, right? It's just my imagination. If I met the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, I would say, hello, Mr. President. Another example, it is, I would travel all over the world if I were rich. If I were rich, honestly, I would not travel. I wouldn't spend my money on traveling around the world. I'd rather prefer doing other causes, right, for people doing good. But anyway, this is the other example. I would travel over the world if I were rich. Right now, I am not rich, and meaning that I cannot, or this is only in my imagination, that when I become rich, I might travel around the world. Last but not least, if I could go back in time, I will learn how to code. Yep. The truth is that we cannot go back in time. We cannot have a rewind machine that actually can send us to the past and then we start all over again. So that's impossible. It's just in my imagination. If I could go back in time, I will learn how to code. Okay, good. How we form the second conditional. The second conditional, the way that you need to form is through simple past, right? And the verb in present using the modal would. So we have if plus simple past plus the subject, right? The personal pronoun, would, modal plus the verb in present and the complement. So another example, if, right? If, simple past, where, if I were an alien, imagination, I'm not an alien, I'm a human being. I would be able to travel around the universe, imagination. I cannot even take a plane right now because of the situation, obviously, right? So if I were an alien, I would be able to travel around the world. We have would plus the following verb should be in simple present or the verb in present, right? And the complement. Another examples we have right there is that I would be able to travel around the universe if I were an alien. Now, if you pay attention to this, guys, it's just basically the sentence order. Here, I start with the if clause, if I were an alien, and then a comma, and after that, I use the second part of the clause, which would be the complement, right? I would be able to travel around the universe, but also I can start with the second part. I would be able to travel around the world, like the second sentence over here, without comma, and then I add if I were an alien. All right. So far that's the way that you use the second conditional. One more time, second conditional, you use it for imagination, something that is not going to be true or it's not gonna happen. It's something it's just in your mind, right? Like the examples that we just covered over here. Okay, so that was, if I'm not mistaken, that is the review, right, of the second conditional. However, there are a couple of additional points I want to talk to you about. Let me see over here. Okay, so if you have questions, guys, those people who are watching right now, for example, we do have some audience on YouTube watching this marathon, this lesson. Remember that this lesson is live event. You can ask your questions and I will be more than happy to answer your questions, right? And remember that this is for you guys. This marathon is for you. This marathon is for you to have the opportunity to have the lesson and then to participate on our third day marathon, which is the private practice session. And the private practice session, you will have the opportunity to talk about lesson number 1, lesson number 2, developing the strategy that I'm about to share with you in a couple of minutes, and then to actually see if you were able to develop or improve in these 2 days of marathon your speaking skills. The main idea is that the more you pay attention, the more that you take notes when you are watching this, the better will be at the moment of your development of your ideas, right? So So let's see. Let me see. What would happen if I refresh this page? Okay, it's refreshing. Alrighty. I think that you can guys still see me. You know, just making sure that I'm getting the right proper messages on. Alrighty, cool, perfect. So we're just fine then. So let's go ahead and talk about then additional points before we got the strategy of the second conditional. Additional points of second conditional is that we can use other modal verbs instead of using would, right? So instead of saying if I had more money, I would buy a car, you can use I could buy a car, meaning that buying a car would be possible, right? But it's still in your imagination. Another sentence, if I won the lottery, I might give all the money to charity. What do you think? I think it's just in my imagination. Or this is just an example I have to use. Second conditional instead of using would, right? Because in being honest, I might not. That's not gonna happen. I think, right? If I won the lottery. In fact, it's not gonna happen because I don't even buy the tickets for the lottery. All right, giving the money to charity is only a possibility, right? So as you can see, the modal verb would can be changed by using other modal verbs like could or might. Okay, cool. So far I think that we are just good. Let me see over here. Alrighty. Making sure, guys, that there are not questions behind. All right, cool. So, alrighty. Now, what's the difference between first conditional and second conditional? And basically, the kind of conditional sentence, I'm talking about the second one, is different from the first conditional because this is a lot more unlikely. One more time, it's not gonna happen. It's just your imagination. You are just imagining situations from the present to the future, or situations that in the future they are not gonna happen, right? So this is the main difference. For example, the second conditional, if I had enough money, I would buy a house with 20 bedrooms and a swimming pool. Believe me, if I had enough money, I could buy a new house, right? But I wouldn't buy it with 20 bedrooms. I might buy it for I don't know, maybe 6 bedrooms, I think. And yeah, why not a swimming pool? So in other words, I am probably not going to have this much money, and it's just a dream, right? It's not very real. And another thing you need to keep in mind is that first conditional, on the other hand, talk about something that is more related to something that might happen, right? That's not your imagination. It could happen, right? So if I had enough money, I will buy some new shoes, which is true. It's not as it's not as expensive as a house. So in other words, it's much more likely that I have enough money to buy some shoes rather than a house that has 20 rooms, right? Anyway, so that it's the review of the second conditional. It's a little bit, I know, I just trying to speed up because I want to focus on the strategy, right? Obviously, the second conditional, you need to keep in mind that you need to use if plus past plus would plus verb in present. That's the strategy. That's the rule. That's part of the grammar. But Just think about this. Think about something that you are imagining, something that you would like to accomplish, but in fact, it's not going to happen because the current situation that maybe you are living in, right? So that's basically the difference between first and second conditional. The first conditional, let's do it like this. The second conditional will be like 50% chances of happening, but the second conditional is 0% chances of happening because you don't have the conditions to become that thing to a reality. Alrighty, so now let's change the topic. We stop talking about second conditional. We will start talking about our speaking skill strategy. Okay, so one of the things that I want you to keep in mind that sometimes there are questions that we don't know how to answer them. Sometimes there are questions that we need to start thinking about what we're gonna be saying, meaning that we need to organize our ideas, meaning that we need to start thinking about the tenses, we need to think about the vocabulary, we need to think about the pronunciation, right? Before we start speaking. And that, by just thinking about that, on how to actually start our speech or our answer, is speed down the process of speaking or speed down your fluency, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at the strategy. Speaking of strategy, what we need to be, or what do we need to consider whenever we want to improve and develop our speaking? Number one thing, guys, is that you can use your opinion, right? You can use sentences that are pre-sentences that actually help you out to introduce the topic. In other words, by you using your opinion will help you out to take chances on how to develop your answer. All right. Right now we're talking about this strategy. Number one thing, try to use your opinion. Now, how can you, what kind of sentences you can start off if you want to use this stage of opinions? For example, you can use "if you ask me," right? If you ask me, and this is a pre-sentence that if you add it in your speaking, obviously you will make a longer sentence or a longer answer whenever you have the opportunity to talk. So if you ask me. Another sentence that you can add as an opinion is "personally I," right? Personally I, and then you continue by giving your opinion. Instead of just saying "I think," right? I think it's cool. I think it's great. I think this or I think that. You can use "if you ask me," a personal I think, right? Or you can also say "I would say that." I would say that. So these are these options, right? If you ask me, personal I, or I would say that, you can easily change it instead of using "I think." All right, that's number one thing. Opinion, keep that in mind. Number two, in order for you to organize your idea, try to think about an example, right? Try to think about something that actually happened to you as an example. And ways to introduce examples are, as an example, for instance, take for example, right? These pre-sentences help you to change the transition from one idea to the other, right? The examples. So we have already opinion, we have already example. And next one is experience, right? Experience. Sometimes we might not have the experience of the topic. However, we can use the second conditional, right? Imagination. Just recently, I had a class with one of my students, and he was telling me, I don't know how to answer that because I never had this experience. You have two options. You can talk about somebody else's experience, You can talk about your friend's experience, your mother experience, your father experience, or or a friend or a relative experience. Or you can talk about your imagination. What would you do? That will be second conditional. What would you do if you had this situation? Right? Second conditional. Okay, cool. So also we have, besides experience, what kind of sentences we can use with experience? In my experience is a powerful sentence. Speaking for myself, right? Speaking for myself is another one. As for me, right? Those are an introduction to the sentence that you want to talk whenever you want to introduce the experience section. Then we got the grammar range, which in this case we're talking about second conditional, right? Past, we can either talk in past, we can talk about present, we can talk about future, we can talk about second conditional. If you actually know how to use the grammar part, this part in the speaking strategy will be super easy for you to use it, right? And last but not least, we can use transition words. Transition words also help us a lot when we want to change from one opinion to the other. There are linking phrases, linking words that help us to join those ideas we have in mind whenever we want to say. We have different kind of transition words, and the ones that I'm going to be sharing with you today are contrast transition words, meaning whenever you say a sentence and maybe the sentence is positive, you use a transition words to switch from positive to negative, or vice versa. In this case, for example, we have on the other hand. So you say something, but on the other hand, in contrast, so something, you say something positive, or you said something affirmative, and then you switch to the negative part. However, all of them are in the same group, right? And I just want to have this in order for you to get along with the transition word with the following example that we're going to be covering. So, what are the speaking strategy? One more time, in order for you to improve that part of speaking, the question we have right there is, what's the best age to be? One more time, what's the best age to be? So, how you're going to be developing this answer? What's going to be the way for you to develop this answer? As we recently we're talking about opinion, example, experience, grammar range, and transition words. All right, I got an example for you, and let's see. I would say, that's my opinion, right? I would say that is a pre-sentence in order for you to introduce your opinion. I would say that the best age to be is when you are between 20 and 27 years old. You tend to believe the world is yours. You see, it's pretty much an opinion. It's not a fact, it's not real situation, it's your opinion about it. Now, let's take a look at the example. Instead of just saying, for example, you can use another sentence or another word. For instance, I have friends who at this age, they successfully achieved several objectives in both academic and professional field. So now I'm talking about somebody else's examples, right? I'm not even talking about just yet my personal example. So then I can obviously start with my experience. Instead of saying in my experience, I can say the other sentence. Speaking for myself, when I was 20 years old, I had the opportunity to travel to South America to study German and to teach English. During this time, I really enjoy my time living abroad, which is true. I mean, speaking from, that's my personal experience. And whenever you have a personal experience, it's even easier for you to develop this strategy. Now, there is something that I want you to know. Sometimes you tend to think that the person that is evaluating your English, they just want to hear good things about you, or the thing, or the achievement that you have gotten in your life. But sometimes we know that life is not that easy. So if something that you haven't experienced, you can actually tell the truth to the person that is evaluating your English. And this is where imagination comes, right? And this is where you can use the second conditional. So now we got the grammar range, right? If I had the opportunity to go back, I would visit more countries. It was a great experience, right? That was the grammar range. That was the second conditional. This is my situation, right? And right now, what I'm just thinking, I just imagine how would it be if I could go back and visit more countries. And last but not least, transition words, right? However, now that I have a family, I will take my family to Europe once everything goes back to normality. So that's the thing. The thing is that whenever you have the opportunity to develop your speaking strategy, you try to think about your opinion, try to think about an example, try to think to give an experience. Maybe this experience shouldn't be from you personally, or it could be from a friend, it could be a family member, a relative, or a person that you may know. You can use the grammar range. In this case, obviously, I used simple past, but the main idea is to focus also on those grammar range that we are maybe having difficulty or issues with, right? And also transition words that will help us out to improve our connections between one sentence and the other sentence. Alrighty, and now this is your turn now, right? This is your turn. Obviously, I also have prepared something for you. This is the pre-speaking practice, right? The main idea over here is that you can answer the same question we have over here. What's the best age to be? By using your opinion, by using some examples, experiences, grammar range, and transition words. Alrighty? So, what's the best age to be? What are you going to be doing? What you're going to be doing is using the pre-sentences that we already have in this presentation. If you ask me, personally, I would say that. Now, for examples, right? As an example, for instance, take for example. Then we have some experiences. In my experience, speaking for myself, as for me. Then we have some grammar range, past, present, future, second conditional, and last but not least, transition words. On the other hand, in contrast, however. Alrighty? So that's going to be the assignment. The assignment is that you can answer this question, what's the best age to be, by using this strategy. This strategy of opinion, example, experience, grammar range, and transition words. Now, so the offline assignment number 2 is the following. Remember the thing. There are two kinds of people in this world. The ones who take action and the ones that just decide to do nothing. And my question for you guys is, what kind of person are you? I'm expecting you are the kind of group number 1. Alrighty, so offline assignment number 2, guys, what you need to do, you need to record your answer. You need to record your voice and share with us your recording so you can get feedback previously to our 3rd day marathon, right? In fact, our third day marathon, guys, just for you to know, we have a bunch of people already registered in the link that we have been providing you. And we're going to be inviting to those people who has been able to do assignment number 1 and assignment number 2. If even though you register, we already have your emails address, meaning that we can send you the links as long as you have done assignment number 1 and assignment number 2. They are very important. They are basically your ticket entrance for our private session. So in the offline assignment number 2, guys, you need to record your answer. Your voice is a voice. It's not a video. It's just a voice. And share with us your recording so you can get feedback from it. Now, number 2, guys, this is very important. The only thing you need to do is you need to take a picture on how you are doing assignment number 2. And make sure you comment on what you're doing and mention us at Nicalingüe on those 2 platforms, which are Instagram and Facebook, right? That's very, very, very important, guys. Because let me tell you, whenever you mention us on Facebook and on Instagram right? You use at Nicalingüe. Our admin of those pages will be able to identify your name and will do a quick match of the people that we already have registered in our list and the people that are doing their assignments, assignment number 1 and assignment number 2. So if you do assignment number 1 by mentioning Nicalingüe, and you do assignment number 2 by mentioning Nicalingüe on Instagram or Facebook, so our admin will be able to check or look up those names and look on the database that we already have from your email address. So by doing that, you will have access to our third day marathon, right? Alrighty, so we have the assignment, and yes, you need to do the whole assignment number 2 for you to have a free spot on our third day marathon, the private speaking practice session. I'm gonna be leaving you guys with the link. I think I have the link just right here. Let me go ahead and try to find it. Yes, it's right here. I got it. So I'm gonna be sharing this link on our YouTube chat for you to have it over there, and obviously have the opportunity to do the assignment, right? This is the assignment, guys. This is the assignment. In the meantime, if you have questions about the assignment, let me know. We are about to finish. These lessons, guys, are 45 minutes lesson. The main idea is to share with you in the most practical way how you can improve your speaking, right? That's the main idea. Also, another thing that I want to share with you guys is the following. We want to create a community. We want to create that community where speaking English is first priority. I know that here in Nicaragua, we might have good English centers where listening skills, they focus on listening skills, they focus on writing, they focus on basically reading, which is totally fine. But at the moment of producing English and the moment of speaking English, obviously we are having some difficulties with that, right? So that's the reason why we need to build, or my idea is to build a community where speaking English is first priority. I just want you to know that we have a Radio Nicalingüe. Those people who are in our private sessions, in our private classes, they do have access to Radio Nicalingüe, where we get in contact with other people around the globe. I'm talking about people from India, people from Africa, people from the United States, people from Brazil, people who are actually having a higher level English, where they are doing presentations about an activity or something that they want to talk about. The same thing we do here at Nicalingue. We prepare those students who want to develop their speaking skills by giving them private classes, and in those classes we focus on pronunciation, fluency, coherence, vocabulary, and also we focus on grammar range, right? And then some public speaking, right, activities where you will have the opportunity to participate in Radio Nicalingue. And the way that we actually evaluate that is by real facts. The more attention you actually make in those people from different parts of the world, the better your score will be, meaning that you were able to maintain, keep, and develop your topic. This is what we actually do in Nicalingue. So tomorrow, guys, we're gonna be having at 10 a.m. our last day marathon, where we are gonna be sharing with you 5 steps, 5 steps in order for you to improve your fluency. If you follow those 5 steps, let me tell you, you will become a independent English user, meaning that if you follow those 5 steps and you take advantage of them, this is gonna be your last English course that you can ever take. When it talks about speaking, obviously, right? The idea is to show you how you can improve on your own by yourself. And also, the idea is to show you what we do at Nicalingue, and if you want to become part of it. Obviously, we will be more than happy to help you on that, right? Okay, so guys, I leave you the link, right? I hopefully expect that those people who were in contact with us today, that we're watching this lesson today, you guys have learned something new. That's the main idea. And I'm just gonna be waiting for tomorrow's event. In tomorrow's event, guys, we will be talking about the 5-step plan to improve your fluency, and obviously I'm gonna be talking a little bit more about our I Speak program at Nicalingue and what we do. And maybe if you are interested, obviously you can join in, right? You can participate. So guys, I think that was the last slide. Yes, I just want to say thank you so much for your time today. You know, your time, it means a lot to me. Please tell YouTube that you like this video. Please tell YouTube that we are doing something huge by just giving us your thumb up, right? So guys, thank you one more time. It was my pleasure, and I hope to see you tomorrow 10 a.m. Nika time, and I hope to help you with another